Thank you, Lindsay. I love that song because it talks about breaking up from fear, breaking up from that which is no longer serving us. And I know last week we talked about potatoes, and the week before that we talked about pumpkins and melons. Later on in the service, you'll hear about chili. So I want to just give you a little bit of that to think about what that means. But first, there's a quote by Emerson. He says, "God enters by a private door into every individual." And today we're talking about, are we practicing and are we walking our talk? There's a story about a lotus flower. In Eastern philosophies, this lotus flower is a metaphor for life, because a lotus flower can only blossom when it works its way through dirty, muddy, dark waters to make its way to the surface. And once it enters the surface of the water, each petal opens one by one as it's cleaned off by the water, and it's revealing the beauty that it is. And I truly feel that many of us sometimes may feel like we are like that lotus flower, working our way through challenges, through obstacles, through things and appearances that are showing up in our world to express that beauty of who we are. Emerson also says, "Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting." So when I think about that handwriting on my own life and in all of our lives, it's unique, it's individual. But I think we sometimes have to let go of something that's no longer serving us, which feeds into this time of year, which is fall. And fall symbolizes spiritually transformation and change, that we are letting go of something to prepare to enter into something new. And that's what winter's about, is the preparation, and spring is the new blossoming. But right now we're in fall. So when we think about what it is that we may want to change or let go of, and it might feel scary or uncomfortable. And I like how Reverend Juanita said in her invocation that we aren't just metaphysicians by words. We're metaphysicians through action, through that spiritual truth of who we are. There's a book called The Fall of Freddie the Leaf, and it's written by Leo Buscaglia, and it's a children's book to teach them about life, the different phases of life. And I love this book because it focuses on fall. It focuses on teaching children what meaning and purpose means to each of them. It teaches them that there are different phases in life, that we all unfold and we have that experience of new birth, of that springtime. We enjoy the time of summer, the warmth, the creativity. And we experience the fall, where we start to realize something is changing within us and we don't understand. And we might get a little scared about that. And in Freddie's life, there's a leaf called Daniel, who continues to encourage him to trust, to recognize that his meaning and purpose in life will continue no matter where he's at. And he is the last leaf, Freddie is the last leaf to fall from his tree. And he shares in the book about what that means in winter time for him, that he can see life in a new perspective, that he can see the beauty of the earth that he couldn't see from his branch. And as he stops fighting, the winds are pushing his little leaf around till he falls into the snow, where he can see that the beauty around him. But he remembers Daniel's words of trust, let go, it's okay. And he realizes everything is okay, but he goes through those anxieties through the book. And I wonder sometimes if we do that as well. My grief mentor, Dr. Bill Hoy, used to teach me about October. He used to say that he makes his goals in January for the year, and then around October, he reviews those goals. He wonders if the seeds that he planted back in January, where they're at, and he uses that time to review what's going on, so he still has some time in the rest of the year if he wants to make changes and work towards goals that maybe he hasn't completed, or if he's ready to let go of some of those that aren't serving him now that he thought maybe in January is something he wanted to do, and he's realizing that he's okay. And I always think about his words about this time of the year because it gives me an opportunity to review where I'm at, what's been going on. Am I practicing walking my talk? Or am I coming from a place of limitation or fear? Because the divine wants to have its way within, through, and as us all the time. And it is. I might not recognize it, but there's a truth that's unfolding. There's a divine spark within each and every one of us that's calling itself forth. And there are times sometimes that I think we question, we wonder what's happening. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind says, does this thing I wish to do express more life, more happiness, more peace to myself, and at the same time harm no one? If it does, it is right, and it is not selfish. And I think that's the time for us to ask these questions of what's calling itself forth. And sometimes we have to make difficult decisions that we weren't expecting to have to make. Sometimes I feel that while we're staying in alignment with the higher truth, the human part of us is wondering. It might have an opportunity to connect with someone. In the fall of Freddie the Leaf, he had Daniel. That leaf was his best friend. And in the book, he talks about in fall how Daniel turns a different color, a brownish, and his friend Claire turns purple, and he turns this beautiful color of orange. And in that experience, he recognizes they all have their own gift. They might look a little different, but they're all together one. And they make that beautiful light that we love to see in fall, the colors, the transformation. And sometimes I wonder how we can stay in alignment with that higher truth by breaking up with something that's no longer serving us. Or maybe it's an opportunity to embrace something, to empower ourselves with the higher truth. Wayne Dyer says, you are in partnership with all other human beings, not a contest to be judged better than some or worse than others. We all come together as one. I love our center. We come together as one. We have a leadership team that's powerful. Reverend Michael and Reverend Nicole are amazing lights in our world. We have a leadership team that comes together with our senior ministers to co-create. We have practitioners that hold prayer, that are available when we are having a tough moment. And we have all of you who are in this room and in whatever room you may be in right now. Together we are one. Together we come together with our differences, our uniqueness, our oneness through it all. Centers for Spiritual Living believes in creating a world that works for everyone. We all have a purpose. We all have some gift that's unique to us to come together as one. I'm so grateful for our spiritual community. I'm grateful for the love and the support that we have for one another, for the inspiration that we provide to one another. And when we're having to make some of those difficult decisions, we know there's someone there who has our back to pray and to remind us not to just be a metaphysician in words, but in action. And that's the gift of who we are. I said I was going to share a story about chili. It's a story that I saw on Facebook, so some of you may be familiar with this. So I don't know who the author is, but I did see this on Facebook. She says, a good friend of mine unexpectedly lost her husband. A couple of months later, we were running together, chatting about nothing. She asked what my dinner plans were, and I told her hubby wanted chili, but I didn't feel like stopping at the store. We ran a few more minutes, and then she quietly said, make the chili. It took me a few minutes to realize we were no longer talking about dinner. It was about going out of your way to do something for someone you love, because at any moment, they could unexpectedly be taken from you. So I'm sharing this little piece of wisdom that was handed down to me by a dear friend. So next time someone you love wants you to go for a walk or watch a game or play a board game or give them some undivided attention, do it. Make the chili. And for each of us, making the chili will be something different. Pumpkins and melons was about figuring out what it is that's what we're choosing. We have to choose. The potato weeds was about pulling those limiting beliefs from our mind, like weeding our garden. It's a very common science of mind principle that we teach in our classes. And yet I'd read that story in a different faith devotional, and I realized that there is a golden thread that moves itself through all of our different faith traditions, creating that oneness. It's that truth when we make the chili, when we are who we are, when we are that unique essence, we show up. We are the truth of who we are. And sometimes there's that opportunity to see that divine spark in someone that you may not recognize or have seen before. It might be the smile of a stranger. It might be hearing Reverend Juanita in her invocation today reminding me of something I hadn't thought of. It might be reading something in Ernest Holmes that you might have read before, but you're hearing it differently this time. I still remember at the Huntington Beach Church when I walked into the conference room at a very young age, they had a picture of Ernest Holmes and his famous quote, "There is a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it." I had no idea what that meant. And I still hear that quote and I see it and I feel it and I embody it differently every time. 30 years later, when I see that quote, it still has a different effect on me. What is it that's calling forth from within you? What is it that you want to show up in as this time of transformation? There are gifts out there and we are those gifts. It's each and every one of us. It's the truth of who we are. Whether we do it through music, whether we do it through the spoken word or the written word. I have a friend of mine that sent me a message early this morning saying that because of her son and some other things that had happened, she's chosen to get behind her typewriter again and type. We would call it a keyboard, but she's writing again. She's answering that call that she had let go of. And I'm so grateful. I told her the world needs to hear your words. I can't wait to read what it is that's calling forth itself through you onto that piece of paper or screen or whatever mode that you are choosing to write. What are we choosing to show up in our world and write? In our book club for the last 2 months, we've been reading Radical Acceptance, Embracing Your Life with the Heart of a Buddha by Tara Brach. She says, the Buddha taught that no other spiritual practice has the value of loving kindness. He said, loving kindness, which is freedom of the heart, absorbs them all. It glows, it shines, it blazes forth. As we practice sending wishes for happiness and peace to ourselves and others, we touch the beauty and the purity of our true nature. The practice of seeing goodness awakens loving kindness, and the practice of loving kindness enables us to move through life more awake to the goodness within and around us. It's important to be who you are. Show up, empower yourself to answer the call. Just as Tara taught in this book, it's about showing up, loving kindness for yourself and one another. That's how we come together, no matter the appearances of our world. We show up. We are who we are. We practice loving kindness. That's an invitation to practice loving kindness if you so choose. It's a powerful spiritual practice. The divine wants to express itself through you and as you. Let it. Another one of my favorite phrases is let go and let God. And my understanding of that phrase has been transformed over the years. And I love that Lindsay chose that for our meditation song this month, because it's true. When we can let go and allow the divine to express through us, amazing things can happen and subtle things can happen at the same time. I want to thank all of you so much for allowing me to speak today, especially Reverend Michael and Reverend Nicole. I do have some news. This will be my last talk as your assistant minister. I have some family issues that are happening in my world that needs my attention, so I will be focusing more on those. However, I am here, continually here as a congregant. You'll see me on Zoom. But like I said, there's some family things that need my attention, so I am having to make some changes in my outer world. So I want to thank everyone for allowing me to speak today, and I'd like to close in prayer. I give thanks. I give thanks for this time together. I give thanks for the power of spirit, the power of love, the power of loving kindness. Grateful for this time together today to recognize and know that we are each having our life journey. Each and every one of us is that divine spark, the beloved, the divine mysteries having its way through and as us. In this moment, I give thanks. I give thanks for Steve so we can hear the beautiful words of today, the music, and feel that heart-to-heart connection. I'm grateful to recognize and know that no matter where we are in our life journey, we are one. We come together through social media, through Zoom, through one another, through text. Whatever that mode of communication is, I know it is the divine connecting us heart to heart. The appearance may be all of these other modes of experience, but the truth is at the anchoring center of who we are is God. Grateful for recognizing and knowing is that I am in alignment with the truth that I speak. It shows up in form. And I recognize and know that many of us are walking a journey right now that is difficult. I recognize my roommate Linda, as her mom made her transition this week, that she walks this journey of love and compassion. I give thanks for those in our circle, in our center, that are walking through difficulties, and I know it is the divine having its way through them, enfolding them in love and light, allowing that truth of who they are to shine brightly. I'm grateful for our center, for Reverend Michael, Reverend Nicole, all of our practitioners, all of our congregation. I am grateful for that recognition of love. That is the truth of who we are, is love. As I release my word into the law, I know the highest idea is unfolding for each and every one of us. And I include my own family in this prayer, that love and compassion and light and wholeness is revealed. Grateful for this time together this morning. I say thank you. I let go, I let God. Releasing my word into the law, it is done, and so it is.